It's early in the morning, and 20 young women meet at a church in Texas for one reason. They will travel to New Mexico and get an abortion.
We're going to give you a bird's eye view of the rocket designed to test our ability to go into deep space with a vehicle built for humans.
They now control the Sea of Azov, so the Russians are trying to push in some resupply there. But again, it's not going that well in other parts of the country.
I've been in the State House. I told you I worked 35 years and 4 months as a teacher. And I've been in the State House for 21 years. You get called girl. Can you believe that?
In a state largely run by Republican white men, black women are shaking things up. Each runs an organization aimed at growing voting power to build a progressive Mississippi.
Why does it always seem to take black women to get this stuff done?
I mean, you're welcome. Step is not dance. Dancing or step dancing or a dance number, no, it's step.
I never dreamed that I'd be here.
And it takes a lot of grit and a lot of grace
to be one of the millions of black women who rock.
You are powerful, you are capable.
Black girls, you are magic.
The railroads lured them with the promise of jobs and used them to break a strike by the white union workers. Today, as then, the Cedar River literally divides the mostly black side of town on the east from the white side on the west.
Questions remain on whether the Marines can actually police themselves and whether they've put a stop to this behavior.
They ranged anywhere from calling us sluts and bitches to talking about wanting to sexually assault us.
You have women out there that have been raped. You have women out there that they don't have anybody, or they did it with the wrong person, or they're just not ready. You can't make women be ready for taking care of kids because that's like a huge step.
We are going to see a public health crisis in this country, but a lot of people don't even want to think about it because they don't think it affects them. But what affects one affects the other.
The difference clearly is race. The difference clearly is class, and the priority set by the administration to care for these people is reflective of how they see us.
They have to sit in the line for hours. I have people that come at nighttime. It used to be 4 o'clock in the morning. Some people come at 12 at night so they can be in the beginning, so they can be on time for work.
There's no cost to justice. There really is not anything too expensive to preserve the rights of people.
Communities like this have been historically neglected. And then when you have high flood events like this, they get hit hard. So when it rains around the country, it pours here.
Whenever there is any type of attack, how many of you think to yourselves, geez, I really hope the person who was responsible for this is not Muslim? Show of hands.
What is the logics of white supremacy that always cast someone as foreign, as other, as dangerous until proven safe or peaceful?
It was steeped in the idea that one race of people had the right to own, to enslave, to brutalize another. Then you can still support the statues, you can still support the flag, you can still support memorials, but you gotta be very clear and honest about what you're supporting.
Here, as in colonial times, the cooking fire burns even on the hottest days of summer.
So who are you thinking of as you're cooking?
My aunties.
Right.
You know, my great aunties.
That's it. Granddaddies at barbecue.
That's right. All the men who were in the kitchen, all my uncles cook. But when people just label them just slaves, yeah, they put them in a class like they don't have a soul, like they're not human beings.
Do you know the names of anybody who cooked here?
We know there was 28 enslaved people. We know every name of every enslaved person that was on this property because of the inventory that they had. Yeah, so we speak their name as often as possible.
We like to think of these folks as the founders of American cuisine.
I, for one, find solace in the arts. I don't have to agree with all the art I consume, but it helps me understand how I actually feel about it.
Are you surprised, though, by the criticism that's come your way?
No, and I don't mind that people get upset. Some of this criticism I get is helpful. Like, I get educated by it. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I learn about a lot of things, you know, just from my critics.
I don't think I can sell that. I don't think I can convincingly tell middle America that the government gives a damn.
Disaffected white male?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you hear about that, and I think a lot of people try to tell us that that's who elected our current president, but I don't necessarily believe that because I know a lot of disaffected white males and disaffected white people in general who didn't vote at all because they didn't think anybody gave a damn about them. And
They just didn't believe in the political system.
no, they thought the system had been broken for a long time.
To spend a few hours in these two places, talking to people on either side of the political divide, is to see just how deep the chasm is in our politics. There's been a lot of questions raised recently about Steve Bannon. What's your
I
thought?
love Steve Bannon. I think he's great. He says what he means what he says, and that's why they don't like him. People who are just namby-pamby little weenie, they don't like people who are outspoken.
You have any thoughts on Steve Bannon?
Yes, he's the devil incarnate.
The devil incarnate?
Yes. He got the man elected, and so I guess he's got a payback, so he made him some advisor. But everything he stands for, I do not, so.
The previous aid package, and then $16 billion now. Does that signal to farmers that Trump is good for farming?
I mean, you could put a monkey in charge and he can write checks.
I have directed Secretary Perdue to provide $16 billion.
I'm really angry at the grown-ups and the adults that have been knowingly taking actions to cause climate change.
When I got involved in this when I was like 6, 7 years old, when I first started public speaking around the environment and the climate, I was the only one at many of these events that was my age, the only young brown person.
A lot of times the way that climate change is talked about, like especially with the presidential debates, we'll have like, okay, we're gonna talk about healthcare now. Okay, great, next topic, climate change. Okay, next topic, race. When in reality, we should be talking about all of these issues within the context of the climate crisis.
For the hundreds of miners now left behind in Gillette, not the dying coal industry, nor the vulture capitalists circling the remains, nor the president using them as a campaign prop, saved their jobs.
Just this island in the Detroit River that has a ton of industrial sites on it, a ton of pollution, and a lot of that ends up in the river.
This river is a weird blue. Like, I don't know if it's
definitely a
algae
weird
or
blue.
this is a weird.
You don't want to jump in.
And what we have seen is basically an aquatic hurricane. We have seen many animals with freshwater lesions. These are saltwater animals that are exposed for a prolonged period of time to fresh water.
The two guys running for governor are claiming that they're going to help out, but you don't hear the word climate change on their platform.
Dead trees forming so-called ghost forests. They're appearing up and down the East Coast. One place it's most apparent.
New Jersey is ground zero for some of the worst impacts of climate change.
So these beans, these little beans, are big money.
Yes, sir.
Or used to be.
They used to be. Now we call them poverty peas.
What doesn't end up in the lake can seep into the groundwater, eventually reaching coastal waters. Those nutrients are supercharging the algae blooms, turning Florida's pristine waters into this.
It's a new emerging role, political activist.
Oh, I'm so uncomfortable in this space. You can't. I can't tell you how much I'd rather be writing a new musical right now. But this is where we are, and we're 2 months after Hurricane Maria. Many of the needs of the 3.5 million American citizens on the island are still not being met.
1/5 of the students left after the hurricane, including Rocco.
It was really difficult because Rocco is so helpful. At home, he's always there, whatever you need.
People have been kept apart for over a year, are finally seeing each other again.
I love you, I love you, I love you. How long has it been since you could have touched me?
A reunion 1 year in the making.
Good thing we gotta keep the mask on, because otherwise I'd be smooching all over your face.
So much of what we took for granted in our daily lives upended. Who we could see, what we could do, where we could go. As the pandemic grew, it seemed our lives got smaller. The isolation, the deprivations, the anxiety. COVID-19 is a cruel and unusual disease, wickedly virulent, preying more often than not on the poor and working class, people of color, black, brown, Native American, the old, the infirm.
She was 83 years old. She was a grandmother to 46.
She was married to our dad for 59 years.
Dale Malter was my husband.
I lost him on June 27, 2 days before our 35th wedding anniversary.
She did everything in her power to give love.
She was often very funny, and I don't think she meant to be.
He knew how to laugh. He knew how to make others laugh.
She had a genuine heart for whoever she came in contact with.
We as survivors must remember, no one, no matter who they were, should leave this world alone.